Empire. BallisLife is finding a new place to live.
One thing I like to tell everybody is BallisLife has been around for a good amount of time in the online space, that we've watched everything grow across like every single social media platform that it is. Like, we're around before they existed.
That's Matt Rodriguez, founder of BallisLife, an early social media phenomenon based around basketball culture. Their next move, landing on a like-minded platform. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Graham Weinstein. Tori Socha has been working in the quote-unquote alternative programming world for a long time, mainly finding content for traditional linear and cable networks. But now she is building Caffeine, a socially engineered content provider where BallisLife fits right in. Our guests this week are Tori Socha, who's the Chief Content Officer at Caffeine, which is an interactive social live streaming platform that has content that includes the Ultimate Rap League, street dance competitions, and a new partnership with BallisLife. And their CEO and founder, Matt Rodriguez, is with us as well, as they provide some of the best basketball content globally. Hi to both of you. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Hi, how's it going? Thanks for having us.
Hey, Matt, let me start with you. BallisLife's been around for a long time. Why don't you tell our listeners what the founding of it was and why this partnership works for you?
Yeah, so we started when I was like 19 years old. We wanted to create a basketball platform online that allowed us and users to put content online, like video content. So really ahead of its time. I want to say video content, longer form, became more prominent in the past like 5 years, whereas we were doing it in 2005 before YouTube was even acquired by Google. So for us, it was more of, again, bringing all levels of basketball onto the online community to share with the world.
All user generated, or were you producing anything?
We were producing all of our own stuff, but we were also sourcing things from different parts of the country and the world.
And how did you go about that? This is a pretty broad topic we're talking about: parks, leagues, rec gyms, prospects everywhere. How did you go about kind of getting your arms around that?
For us, initially, it was really doing our homework on like what events to attend in the high school space and what we call more grassroots, which is like spring and summer basketball. So heading out to those events and filming it ourselves. So I was traveling all over the country, sometimes even with my wife, to a lot of these events and filming and putting up the video content of these guys while they're still in high school. Because for us, growing up, I would always hear like almost mythological stories about athletes when they're in high school, about crazy events that happen with them. So for me, I wanted to capture those events and make sure people could see them.
And Tori, I read a lot about your background. We'll get into Caffeine in a moment, but alternative content has kind of been your thing, right? Like that you've been kind of in a linear space for a long time.
That's right. Yeah. I came from a traditional media background. I've worked for all the big corps that you can think of in Hollywood. And mostly in the unscripted space. I've done, several live projects as well, but mostly in the unscripted arena.
So tell me about Caffeine. What do you guys do?
Yeah, so we're an interactive social broadcasting platform. We're a mix of premium content as well as user-generated content. And our goal on the content side is to bring fans of these like under-the-radar sports events, competitive formats, a place to really kind of come together, be amongst each other and the fan base, interact with the programming, engage with the content that they love so much, and really just provide an elevated experience to watch these competitive events. Really like kind of bridging that gap between content and the social connection that surrounds it is kind of our goal. And it's a personal mission of mine too. Again, coming from a more traditional media background, when you watch content, typically you're sitting on your couch, you turn on your TV, you watch for 30 minutes, an hour, you turn it off, and then you go back about your business.
Yeah.
There isn't really much of like a connective experience around TV. Maybe you'll follow some of your favorite stars on Instagram afterwards, but it's not really a social experience. And so what we're offering on Caffeine is a really unique way to watch shows that you love, premium content, with the people who also love it at the same time. And you can possibly also, interact with the show in a way that changes the future of the content. In a lot of our competitive tournaments, you can actually contribute to the direction of the show by voting on a winner. You decide who wins. And so it's a much more three-dimensional experience to watching a show than what we offered in traditional.
So you guys are really kind of meeting at very interesting times. Matt, you were kind of way ahead of the curve with getting stuff out there. I don't know that basketball is necessarily alternative, but the content that you were going after was, as you put it, I thought very good, mythological about some of these people that were going to end up playing in programs or playing in the NBA. Could you kind of take me through what you've seen, how you've seen the media ecosystem change that attracted you to go to a platform like this as opposed to kind of just staying off on your own?
Yeah, I mean, I've one thing I like to tell everybody is BallisLife has been around for a good amount of time in the online space, that we've watched everything grow across like every single social media platform that it is. Like, we're around before they existed in many respects. But like Tori said, all the other social media platforms are more focusing on a specific thing, and their specific thing that they're focusing on is live broadcasting as a social platform. So for us, we love the interactivity and the engagement that the fans can have with the platform, because it was something, even when we did a program with like Facebook back in the day, we had to use like a third-party platform to draw engagement to the fans, whether that was via polls or just having them engage beyond just a like or a comment. And we get that like right away with Caffeine, and it's just something that I think our audience can definitely get behind.
Tori, are some of the old traditional linear models, are they slow to adapt to this? Are you guys ahead of that curve? How do you kind of see where media and content acquisition and content engagement is going right now?
Yeah, I do think that they are very slow to adapt, but for several reasons. I think everybody right now is looking at the streaming space. It's no longer about cable or broadcast television. It's about the streamers. But if you look at the content that the streamers are putting out there, it's still the same kind of show that you'll get on traditional television, on cable. It's the same format with the same, cold open and hero shots, and you get act breaks. And it's really no different than what you see in the media landscape on cable or broadcast. And so again, what we're doing is not just copying and providing all the same formats that exist out there. We are investing in really awesome creators, leagues, competitive events that are already crushing their own way, elevating them, giving them a platform that is interactive and social and very different than anything else you'll see. So, we're ahead of the game in terms of the tech that we have. We're probably 10 steps ahead of what any media company has out there in terms of the tech, but also in terms of the types of shows that we show. We're not just sort of doing the same thing that everybody else has been doing.
All right, let me stay on that for a moment. What are you hearing from people who interact with your platform? If you're going to break the mold of these standard ways of structuring content, what are you hearing from people that they want done differently? Authenticity. It's not about, inserting your network brand or inserting some, contrived storylines. We want to, at Caffeine, really empower our creators to do what they do best. It's in all of our best interest if BallisLife continues to, produce content that their fans love. I do not want to meddle in that. I don't want to, try to transform anything to fit our mold. I want to just empower and uplift the creators that are doing their things already so well. And that's something that I think traditional media tends to meddle in a bit too much. Matt, what have you seen from general content creation in this vein? Because you've been doing something that, again, I don't know if alternative is the right word, but it certainly is different in terms of content curation. What have you seen through the years of what fans want when they interact with your content?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things, and by the way, I do just want to mention our interactivity rates are through the roof. Sometimes we get in the upwards of 50, 60% of fans commenting, upvoting, liking other people's comments, voting on who they thought won. It's unprecedented how engaged our viewers are. And we also have, a prop feature whereby you could drop sort of digital items, for lack of a better word, to help the creators. They're little tips, but they're also animated, really fun ways of expressing your sentiment about the show. And so viewers do all of those things in record numbers. And what I think that they enjoy the most is the community that we offer. Again, you're surrounded by fans, equal-minded fans that love the content that you're coming for, and you get to talk about it with everybody in real time as they're watching it, and really just sort of feeling like you're around community. Again, not to sort of like state the obvious, but 2 years into the pandemic, people still want to be around each other. They don't necessarily want this sort of solo, isolated experience that we've all been having in real life. So Caffeine is uniquely positioned to be able to offer that.
Matt, what have you seen here from what fans want as BallisLife has grown? What content do they want? What are they attracted to?
I guess there's multiple levels to that question. So for me, in looking at the content, I do see a lot of more clickbait type stuff that fans want. And for us as a platform in BallisLife that really cares about basketball and the culture behind it, we have to filter out like what's considered like the quick hit that's going to do really well, and then also influence the fans in the right way of letting them know like what's good basketball. So for us, it's more of we want to continue to be authentic to our audience, but at the same time, we also want to let them know like we're not going to reach too far beyond like who we are as a media platform as well, just because basketball can be taken in so many different ways. And you can look at the analytics and see exactly what does well and what does not do well. But it's just staying true to basketball for us. So I saw the space growing that we're in right now with street ball, I want to say early last year. And I saw it growing heavily with influencers who have their space in this community as well, in a negative way, whether it was getting in fights or pushing the barriers or the limits of the neighborhoods that they were going into. And for me, when I see stuff like that, I'm like, man, I've been in all these neighborhoods. I grew up in these type of neighborhoods. I want to make sure that there's good light shed on these neighborhoods as well, and the basketball place itself. So for me, I really wanted to step in and ensure that basketball also was being treated in the correct way that it deserved in my mind. And then also try and influence the audience that's watching it in the direction I feel like basketball truly deserves. So that's kind of, I guess, the way that I think about it.
So you what you were seeing was negative content being created, what? Because for the purpose of these people thinking this would be popular to do something like that?
Yeah, so I would see content that was constantly pushing the boundary of, staying within the confines of basketball and then sensationalizing everything around it, whether it was fights, getting in people's face, gunshots. Just saw it constantly being the route. And for me, that was like highly concerning. I was actually even getting phone calls from police departments from around the country when we were going out to do things either in the Midwest or here in the West Coast. Like, hey, is this what's going on at your guys' events? Because they lumped us all into one category. They didn't separate like, oh, this is that person and this is BallisLife. Like, no one's going to do that. So for me, there was a little bit of explaining to do on my end with the local community and just ensuring them that like, no, we're there to play good basketball. We do get competitive. We do talk a little shit from time to time, but we want to keep it about basketball and providing a great community event.
Tori, so let me stay on that topic just for a moment, then we'll get back to the partnership. You've emphasized your authenticity really matters, that the users are going to create things that are going to break a mold. Are you running into this too, where there's a content control that's in place here so that the right messaging, at least from your brand, is being put out there to your users?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you mentioned that, Matt. I do think that we are also in a position to make sure that the best of all of these leagues and partnerships are shown. We have, again, some of the most wonderfully artistic, unique, expressive, competitive events on our platform, from battle rap to street dance to sneaker battles to these BallisLife events. And again, it's sort of our hope to elevate these voices and these messages and these art forms and these competitive events and let everybody know that they exist out here and that they're doing really great things for the communities that they're in. And that is important to us.
Tori, do you guys have designs on being an OTT for all of these different linear type models or no? Or are you guys trying to stay separate from all of that?
So yeah, we are focused on live stream primarily. We want to be free and available for everybody to watch. No commercials. Anyone who can download the app can watch all of our content for free. Live is our primary model, but we do have video on demand as well. So after a BallisLife event, you can go onto their channel and watch it. But that is really our primary focus right now is really creating those live moments for people to come together and keep it free for everybody to watch.
All right. One final question for both of you. And this is the old man question that I like to ask everybody when we get into conversations about this stuff. And I'll start with you, Matt. Is there going to come a time where people don't watch games anymore? That no one's going to have the attention span to sit down and actually literally watch the Warriors play the Suns from start to finish?
I think it depends on how they're watching the game. So I've had many conversations about this if you're familiar with the iGaming world with like betting and micro betting and all those types of things. I feel like people are going to move more towards watching a game in that way where they're betting on what's going to happen next in the game with these like real-time micro betting sites popping up and less about like being a fan of the game, which is unfortunate. But that's kind of where I see things kind of going in that sense with us and creating this street ball atmosphere. We've almost even carved our own path with a more physical game as well. Whereas I feel like the NBA has also gotten really soft, corporate and political. So yeah, I do think it's definitely going to change like how people are watching the game versus, you and I may have watched the game when we were growing up.
And I'm going to double down on what Matt just said too, because I think, again, looking at NBA on traditional linear, their watch times might be, you'll get people folding their laundry while they do dishes and the game's on in the background and maybe they're paying attention, they're listening out for when a big, moment happens in the game, but it's sort of like, not exactly, leaning in television. Whereas for us, we are actually seeing stupidly insane watch times on our programming. Some of our battle rap shows go up to 160 minutes of watch time consecutively on cell phones, again, with that crazy interactivity rate. So if you can imagine, people are watching over 2 hours, commenting, dropping props, upvoting, on their cell phones. It really just changes the entire way you watch a game. So yeah, I can see, maybe the NBA one day won't get the watch times that we get, which is a much more fun experience. And combined with the physicality and energy of the street ball games really just kind of takes it to the next level.
Tori, is there an age line that you're seeing this? Is there like a literal demarcation of this generation is watching things the way you're talking about, and there's a spot at an age where people are still sitting on their couch watching games, maybe using the phone as a second screen, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, you'll definitely get the older audience on traditional media, but we do also see a range from, 18 to 34. We're seeing everybody. If you download the app, check us out, no matter what your age is. It's very easy to understand. It's very easy to sort of a prop that we offer, and it really just changes the whole experience. But yeah, we are seeing for sure the younger viewership is way more interested in us than linear.
It's all really interesting. Matt Rodriguez is the CEO of BallisLife. Tori Socha is the Chief Content Officer at Caffeine. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you as well.
On the next Future Sport podcast, a few days before the Super Bowl, we take a deep dive into the safety measures employed by the National Football League.
It's our goal to drive down those numbers of injuries wherever possible and severity of those injuries. So we have a number of different platforms and work streams that go against particular injuries to try to drive down concussions, which have been down 25% now over the last couple of years, hamstring injuries, knee injuries, anything you might imagine. And that work takes us into lots of different interesting places.
That's Jeff Miller, Executive Vice President of Player Health and Safety. The tech advancements and thought processes between readying for a season have changed dramatically. That will do it for this episode. As always, the future is now. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein.